down through the governor here to ultimately help the firefighters at the local level and police and emergency managers overcome this disaster. And so the assistance that we provide is not only going to be able to assist with the debris removal, but more importantly, taking care of people and, mass care to also fire mitigation. So as you can see, as the wildfires go through an area like this, the land is scorched, and, a little bit of rain is nice, but too much rain could be a problem too. So we're already trying to think ahead and work with our partners to try to mitigate what we can of the additional impacts coming. So.
The towns and every place we visited, I see, and I've asked the question, they're all going to do an expedited rebuild, meaning the permits are going to come a lot faster than would normally be the case. Actually, this is an area where it's pretty tough to get permits, and I know they're going to go very fast with expediting and get it rebuilt and redone, and that's a great thing. That'll make things happen a lot faster. Jerry, would you like to say something?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I've signed an executive order to cut red tape and speed up the permit processes as well as other recovery actions. So that'll help. And all I can say is that we are going to have to learn a lot more about nature, about the wind, about the fire potential, about how to build, how not to build, how to escape, what measures of protection we can build in. And it's not going to be cheap, but I think we have to carefully really look into the facts here and take all that we learn and apply it going forward. And of course, I won't have to do that. Mr. Newsom will do that. So
thanks for the baton.
Yeah. But I mean, it's just, the Mendocino fire, the Tubbs fire, the Thomas fire. I mean, you just go down this list. And, this is unacceptable. We're at a point, past the point. People have had enough of this, and we've got to deal with this head on. I mean, governor's done an amazing job with the legislature the last couple of years. We've invested a record amount of money into our efforts, but we have to do more, and this clearly underscores that. But I also want to underscore a more fundamental point, and that is the collaboration and cooperation we're getting from the federal government, and we're very grateful for that. There's no politics being played here. The president signed that emergency declaration immediately, and I cannot impress upon all the folks here how grateful I am for the conversations we've had, private, not just public, over the course of the last few hours, in terms of the expectation going forward that the federal government's not just going to be here today with all of you, but tomorrow and over the course of the next few years as we rebuild.
That's right. That's true. 100%. We'll get it going. Like to say something?
I would just say, on behalf of CAL FIRE and the State Fire Department, throughout California, we still remain in critical fire weather. So as this fire and the fires up north continue to gain containment, the challenge isn't over. And through cooperation of agencies throughout California, we are successful. So thank you.
Good. Chief?
All right, well, Darrell Wasby, Fire Chief, Los Angeles County Fire Department. On behalf of the County of Los Angeles, just really want to thank the governor and the president here for their presence to get the state and federal resources here and support as it relates to combating this fire, and also the resources to rebuild our community. But I also just want to thank my counterpart here from CAL FIRE, and our law enforcement partner is not here, but we had all hands on deck as it relates to trying to protect this community, and we were successful in getting tens of thousands of people out, and unfortunately we lost property, but we saved a lot too. If you can imagine hurricane-type force winds coming to this community, that we had firefighters and sheriffs protecting the citizens here. But in conclusion, just once again, Mr. President, Governor, thank you for your support. And we're looking forward to rebuilding our communities, and then also looking forward from the local, state, and federal level to really talk about these challenges and what we can do to mitigate and prevent these things from occurring in the future.
Thank you, Chief. Fellas?
Rick Mullen, Mayor of the City of Malibu. Mr. President, thank you very much for coming down here and showing your concern, and also thank you for all the support you've given us. Governor and Governor-elect, also appreciate everything you've done. Malibu took it on the chin here, but compared to the fire up north, we didn't lose as many lives. So if there's a silver lining here, it's that we saved a lot of lives, and we paid for it in frustration for people who are outside who got the mandatory evacuation order. So thank you for all your patience. We're going to get you back in as quickly as possible. And for everybody who's suffered a loss here of all their personal belongings and their precious memories, we're going to do everything that we can with the assistance of these fine gentlemen to get it back together, and we will leave no stone unturned to come together, and Malibu will be strong again. So thank you very much, Mr. President, for coming.
Appreciate it.
Mr. President, appreciate Peter Foy, Ventura County Supervisor. I just appreciate everything you've done. I appreciate our fire and both from LA County and Ventura County coming together to save lives, like you said. I mean, it was amazing being part of this stuff. We've seen a lot of tragedy at Ventura County with the shooting, the whole bit, and it's been amazing. But we will rebuild. We will get through this, and I do appreciate, Mr. President, your prayers, your wife's prayers, and the whole country's prayers for this community. We're strong here in California, and I appreciate the governor and the governor-elect being here to show that support, and we're going to get through this. But it's going to be tough, and I do appreciate everything that's happened here in Malibu, too, and the rest of it. So thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Peter, and all. You've done such a great job, and you mentioned the shootings, and we're now going over to see some of the families of the victims and the first responders and the police and the law enforcement generally. The job they've done is really incredible, brave. And first one in that door, right?
Yeah,
First one in that door. He took.
And I appreciate both these governor-elect being at that memorial.
Yeah,
that happened.
that's
So
true.
I appreciate you being out.
It's a beautiful memorial.
Yeah.
But so we're going to go over and see them, and maybe you're going to be joining us. But we really appreciate. Great job.
Well,
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Thank
What
you
you're
very
doing
much.
here, too.
And thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President,
All right.
actually seeing this with your own eyes, how does that change your perception? Has it changed your perception?
Well, I think it's just a horrible thing, and it's been going on for a long time, and I think we're going to come up with some plans and methods and mitigation. We're going to have some great success. It's something we can work on, do much better. I really believe, I'm a strong believer, a lot of cities are in forests. If you look at Europe and other places, we have a lot of forest states where they're mostly forests, and they just don't have this problem. California's a very unique place, and it's got some very unique leadership and some great leadership, and we're going to be working with the leadership, working with Gavin now for the most part, and I think we're going to come to some pretty good conclusions, and maybe more importantly, some real solutions to a problem that is a very, very big problem, because every year, especially at a certain time of the year, you just turn on and it's automatic that you have these massive fires. I mean, these are massive fires. Now, in this case, when you look at where we just left, you're talking about tremendous numbers of death. And here we had 3, I guess, at a minimum. That's too much. So we're going to work on a lot of means of mitigation and solving a problem that's been a big problem for decades. Long before Jerry, long before Gavin, long before all of us. I mean, this has been going on too long, and I think we can come up with some really great solutions. Any other questions? Thank you, folks.
Actually, you often talk about the fact that politics is a mean business sometimes.
Yeah, it can be, but it's very nice when we all get together.
Yeah, I mean, and now you're having an opportunity to have some
Yeah.
face time with people that you sometimes criticize publicly. Do you feel like your relationship with them and potentially with the state of California might change because of that?
Well, I think we've developed a very good relationship. I've known Jerry for a long time, but I think we got closer today than we could ever get over the last 20 years. And Gavin, I've just met, and I've heard terrific things, and I think we've developed a great relationship. We have to work together. This is a very big problem, and we have to solve this problem, and I know that we're going to work together. I have no doubt. Come here. I have no doubt. Right? We're going to get it done. We have really an obligation. I think we have an obligation. We don't really have a choice. We have to get it done. And we're going to be working together very closely.
A lot of people agree with what you said about land management, but now another big question is it possible that climate change is a real issue here?
Well, we'll be looking at everything. I mean, it is land management and it's forest management, really, is what you mean. But we're going to be looking at every factor, and we're going to get to the bottom of it, and I think we can do it fairly quickly. I really do. We'll take the areas that are most exposed to the problem, and we'll work on that first. And you know what they are. You probably know what they are right now, but here's an example.
On a regular basis.
But yeah, we're gonna come up with some really good solutions. Jennifer, did you have something?
Mr. President, when you said on Air Force One that you feel like you have more similarities with Governor Brown on than we realized, did you mean on climate change, or did you just mean?
Well, I think we have similarities in many ways, and you know, one real similarity is we both want to come to the right conclusion. And I know I get there, and I know he gets there, and the right conclusion here is to get these forest fires to stop, because I really think there's a way of doing that. And we don't want to turn on every year. At a certain time you turn on, and it's almost expected. And you're watching from New York, or you're watching from Washington, D.C., and you don't really see the gravity of it. I mean, as big as they look on the tube, you don't see what's going on until you come here. And what we saw at Pleasure what a name right now. But when what we just saw, we just left pleasure.
Paradise.
Or paradise. And what we just saw at Paradise is just, it's just not acceptable. You just,
Do you have similarities with Governor Brown on climate change?
Well, let me answer that first. Now, what I want to say is the shock of all this is going to heighten our focus and attention and also our cooperation. The President said we're going to get to the bottom of it. There's a short-term response, mid-term, and a longer-term response. And I think we're all going to pull together to do whatever we need, and we don't get it all agreed to or solved in a week or a month or even a year or two. But over time, I think we're going to understand better what we're up against. And I would just say, Mr. President, California for 10,000 years never had more than 300,000 people. Now we've got 40 million. So you got to learn to live with nature in a very creative and sophisticated way. And I think that's going to be the challenge. I think we'll meet it. At least Newsom will meet it, because I'm going to be watching from the ranch.
Yeah. So we're putting in the Farm Bill $500 million, and when you look at that, and when you look at the combination of the two, between Malibu and other places, I mean, not just the two, it's other places, it sounds like a lot of money. It's not that much money. The state will contribute. We're all going to contribute. We're going to get it taken care of. I mean, we saw a site, and don't forget, there are hundreds of people that still aren't accounted for, and that's a tough situation. Now, hopefully, they're with their relatives, and there won't be a problem. But certainly, there will be some that are just going to be not accounted for. So we're going to spend the money that's necessary. There's a great people that live here, and it's unfair to put them through this so often. And Gavin knows that. And Jerry knows that. We all know that. All of these folks know it, and they've done a fantastic job. They really have. I mean, you have done, from the law enforcement standpoint, fire and fire prevention standpoint, what you've done is incredible. And they really held it back. This could have been far worse. And I don't know if you know, but they're still putting out this fire in another section. How is that going, by the way?
It's 82% contained, Chief.
Yeah, we still have some hot spots and some canyons that we're concerned about, but we think by November 19th we'll have full containment.
So in Paradise, they have a section that's going absolutely wild right now with additional fire. And just by looking, Jerry, at the map, that's a very vibrant forest that it's right next to. And they have to, they're out there fighting as we're talking here. They're throwing water. They're doing everything you can do. There are tremendous numbers of very brave people. And if those winds change, you know what can happen. Those people are in big trouble. So you take a look at what's going on there, and you take a look at this, because right now as we're speaking, that's happening. And are you going to be successful do you have winds coming? How long will it take to put out the rest of the fire?
We're pretty confident right now. We still have offshore winds, but they've really died down significantly.
Yeah, this is
you can see now that we have a marine influence. Our firefighters are getting some moisture in this weather. So we still have several thousand firefighters out there. So we're confident that we'll have full containment by November the 19th, and then as we stand here, we're starting to repopulate the entire breadth of this incident, and then with the County of Los Angeles and surrounding cities, we're trying to start the rehabilitation and help people get their lives back together. So that's going to take several years working with our local officials, the county, the state, and the federal government. But once again, we appreciate your support.
Well, we're sending a lot of extra people to Paradise. They're going, I mean, literally as we speak, we have massive numbers of people going up there. We have large numbers of people coming here. You haven't seemed to have it very much under control. Right now, the wind has stopped, and I assume that's a very good thing, but the wind has stopped. But one of the problems you had, especially in Paradise, the problem you had was the wind. The wind was, I mean, they say 70 or 80 miles an hour. That's pretty tough. Okay, any other questions?
Mr. President, you spoke earlier today with your CIA director, Chief
Yes, I did.
Haspel, in the wake of these reports that the CIA has assessed that MBS, the Crown Prince, is behind this assassination of Jamal Khashoggi. What do you believe after speaking with your CIA director, and do you still trust the Saudis' denials?
Our CIA director, who's terrific and very knowledgeable and been studying this very closely, and it's a horrible thing that took place, the killing of a journalist, a very, very bad situation, Khashoggi, and somebody who's respected. It should never have happened. And we'll be having a very full report over the next 2 days, probably Monday or Tuesday. We're going to have a very full report.
Did the CIA assess that MBS was behind it?
They haven't assessed anything yet. It's too early. That was a very premature report, but that's possible. We're going to see. But we're going to have a report on Tuesday, and it'll be very complete. In the meantime, we're doing things to some people that we know for a fact were involved, and we're being very tough on a lot of people.
What's this report on Tuesday that you...
We're going to come up with a report as to what we think the overall impact was and who caused it and who did it. You're talking about a killing. We're not talking about anything else. We're talking about a killing. So who did it?
What do you
At the end
say,
of the
what do
day,
you
Mr.
say to the
President, have
shooting
you
victims,
decided
Mr.
that-
President? What do you say to the shooting victims?
Well, we're going to see
who
them
have
right now.
Who have
We're going to
lost
see them.
everything, and does this make you think maybe there needs to be some changes when it comes to guns or things that could be done? What could be done to
Well, I'll
prevent
tell you
this?
what, we'll be talking to you in a little while, but we're going to see the families right now, and I hear they've been incredible. The families, the way they've handled it, that was a horrible, horrible event in a great area, an area that's one of the most safest places, right? I was reading it's like the safest place in America, and it happened there. So we're going to see those families right now, and we'll see you back over at the airport, okay? Thank you. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, John Sibbert is your name? Sibbert? No, Rick Mullen. Rick Mullen. You're the mayor of Malibu?
Hi, how are you? Good to see you.
Let's go, we gotta move. Guys, come on, we gotta keep moving. Sir, we got
This way, guys. Watch the vehicle. Watch the vehicle. Stay to the side, please.
Where are the rest of our locals? Hey, Hank, do we have any more locals? I thought we had a couple of Oh, fine. No, Chief, down this way. Right here. Yep.
Hard to believe, isn't it?
As you look at this lumber, you can see how hot and gas, it actually melted. Melted and moved all the way down. It's pretty tough. If you take a look behind me, so you look out, you can actually see all the different chimneys that have taken place and all the burn. Chief Osby, do you have anything, sir?
No, I think we pretty much covered it. There's complete devastation here, but then it's amazing. You can see the houses there that survived. Like I said,
Yeah, look on the other side.
It survived. Yeah, but then one thing that's missing, a couple of things. You know, we don't have enough resources to put a fire truck over the house. But even if we did, that would save everything with the wind conditions. If you can imagine 70 miles an hour, fire brands coming in here. But when you're looking at the news and the media was saying everything was dark and they couldn't see, just take into consideration we had sheriffs in here evacuating, and we had firefighters in here helping to evacuate and fighting fires at the same time. So we have some very noble, brave people in here getting people out and saving lives and protecting property.
How is your water coming up to the site?
The water initially was fine, but around 3 o'clock when we had the fire siege, we lost power.
Oh.
So then we didn't have municipal water.
You
so
lose
then
pumps? Did you need pumps?
we needed pumps. What we probably need is a lot of emergency power for water companies. But what we do have in our district is that we have all the pools identified in the region. So our firefighters can siphon water out of the pools. We have water tenders here, and then with some of our super scoopers, they scoop right out of the ocean.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Right.
so when they can fly.
Right.
Because one thing you have to take in consideration too, that once the winds get to about 40, 50 mile an hour, then we have to start grounding aircraft. So there are some parts throughout the day that our pilots did not feel safe to fly.
What were your highest winds?
Through here, we had winds up to 70 miles per hour.
That's incredible.
Did it come through the canyon? Is that why? Did it build through down below?
Well, what happened when it came down below is that we had firebrands about blowing 2 miles ahead of the fire front. So when it got into the canyon, not only did we have fire coming this way, but then we had fire driven by topography coming back up the canyon. So the firefighters had to be very keen on what they're doing. So I know we have one of our captains here, the mayor from Malibu, but I'm also proud to say that we didn't have any burnovers or any firefighter fatalities because we've had situations in the past where we did. So a lot of good cooperation and training for our personnel.
How does this compare to what you've had here in the past? This is bigger, right?
Worse. We keep fire history maps for 100 years, and for the past 100 years, you can put all those fires combined into this fire.
Can you believe that?
Yes.
And I think something to consider also is it was a 14-mile fire front that was coming over the hill, fanned by 60-mile-an-hour wind. So when you think 14 miles of fire, that is a pretty significant disaster.
Right. Yeah.
Great job.
Yeah, and this is our CEO here.
I know.
Okay, got it. Okay, got it.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah, so
Appreciate you being out here
Great job.
today.
yeah, because there's a lot of other secondary support that happens that you don't see in the television, like logistical support, food, water, shelter, support for our citizens that she does behind the backdrop to help. And then she's going to take the lead now for the rebuilding for these communities.
How long do you think this will take, generally?
Not sure, but today we stood up both of our assistant service centers, so we're
We are moving back to the motorcade right now. I believe that is it for this OTR. As the president mentioned during the remarks, he said that he's going to be meeting with people impacted by the Falcon shooting.
Sorry, we're going the wrong direction. We gotta go this way. Thanks. I apologize.
Good exercise. We're not running. Yeah, that's true. This is their fault. Hey, deja vu. I've been here before. I feel like I've been here. She's up ahead. She's right here.
Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, the whole thing was
saying all week.